Hello, friends. Welcome to the Big Talk. I'm Tricia Brouk. I am so excited to be here today with all of you. During the last several months, our featured guests have been writing their big talks inside the Big Talk Academy. And today we are going to dig deep into the process, the power of story, and the importance of community. I am super excited to welcome our featured guest today, the incredible Bryn Drescher. Bryn, are you ready to drop in?
Yes.
Bryn Drescher is an expert in transformational speaking and facilitation. She has been using her unique brand of electric energy, humor, and insight to empower audiences and individuals to move toward their dreams and goals despite the obstacles in their path. Some past engagements include being the keynote speaker for the Symposium, Legacy Summit Trainer for Region 6 and Inbound 16, and HubSpot's annual marketing conference in Boston. Bryn, take us a minute to fill us in on anything I missed and talk a little about you.
First of all, thank you, Tricia, for that wonderful introduction. And, when you hear it, it sounds good, but it's like, what does that mean? So yes, thank you. I think I was a speaker before I was a speaker because I've been speaking my whole life, like using my voice. I think that's been my natural talent. And I have grown into an excellent facilitator because I think that what a speaker really does is facilitate change. And it's not about the speaker, it's about the message and it's about the mission. And so that has been something that's been really powerful to me. I mean, I grew up in the Chicagoland area in the suburbs, a predominantly white suburb as a biracial kid where the only person in the neighborhood that looked like me was my brothers, not even my mother. And so I think all of that contributes to the way that I look at the world and why I'm so passionate about change and opening people's minds. And obviously in this time and everything that's happening in the world, I think that I'm perfectly positioned to create change, affect change, particularly for mindset and heart set, which is something that I work with, the nonprofit I work with that really is close to, really something I'm passionate about.
Bryn, being a speaker and more importantly, a facilitator, you are very busy right now.
Yes.
And if we bring into the power of story and the power of voice, how are you using those skills that you know so well in your facilitations?
Yeah. So as of late, with everything going on with the pandemic and the changes in, what happened with George Floyd and then what that has sparked off, because I think it's really important that people understand that it's not just about this one incident. It's a, confluence of events and over time and over, decades and centuries.
So acknowledging systemic racism exists in this country.
Exactly. So once we look at that, then it becomes about old paradigms die hard. So I think that's what we're seeing. And so for me, it's been really helpful because as a biracial person, I've always sought to see both sides. Like I'm really passionate about, I don't know what it's like to be in your shoes. So how can I find out the best I can? And I understand that that's not always going to be reciprocated, but I think that the one thing that I really bring to my work and have learned to bring to my work, because let's be honest, it's not always that easy, is compassion and saying, okay, I get that this is hard for you, but it's going to be hard. So we got to get over that. And how can we, so that's been a big thing is using my facilitation skills to be able to hold that space when it's hard. And then also recognizing how important it is for me to allow other people to hold space for me, because to hold all that is a lot. And so as a speaker, and one of my things in my big talk that we're working on is learning how that this is not just about you delivering a talk, but being able to hold the space for that talk and be the speaker for it. I can't explain what I was trying to say there, but essentially how it is important that you can embody what you're talking about and live that as well.
Are you currently sharing your personal story in these facilitations in order to serve?
It's interesting. I haven't been as much as I could. I have to some degree, but for some reason I feel as if it's my time to hold the space and allow other people. But I think that's something that has been coming through because of the big talk is how important my story and my experience is. And for some reason I hold that back. And I think it's because when I was growing up, I was taught that I couldn't speak on Black experience because I was so white. And now since then, no one thinks that I'm white, because they're like, even when I tell them I have a white mom, they think that, oh, wow, they're surprised, which is such a interesting situation from the way I grew up. But I think I learned at some point, and I'm starting to develop that I need to put that out more. Because this is the time. I was born biracial for a reason, and this is what I was asking for this time, because I get to, speak to that, and I can speak to that from a place of compassion, empathy, but also, say, hey, I've done work on myself. I had to educate myself because I didn't grow up with the experience. So I would like to see people do the same, and it's not something that is, it's something that you can just do. Because it's the right thing to do. It's the right thing to say, hey, I have a blind spot. Let me look deeper at that. So
I think that that's so important to remind ourselves that we as human beings think we know it all. We think we know everything. We think we have all the answers. And when we step back and embrace humility and curiosity, at that point, we can then step into our expertise as speakers and have a conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's so important, because the conversation is where the richness is, right? And it's not about attacking a person, because when you attack a person's personhood, I believe the communication shuts down. And I think if you can just say, look, this is my experience, or this is what I have experienced, and here's another way to look at it, right? Because a lot of people want to take a singular event like what has recently happened and say that's what it's about, and this is already being dealt with, and this is charges and all that stuff. But I'm like, but it's deeper than that. You understand that what causes, you're looking at a symptom, not a cause, which is kind of the way that we've been running our country for so long on so many levels. And it's like, you got to look deeper. It's not just about the surface. And I think that's the same for people. It's not just about the surface. We have to look deeper. So there's so many lessons and analogies that one can go into about how this is about really meeting heart to heart and mind to mind and figuring out how we're going to do this together. I mean, I know you call yourself an ally, but I don't really like that term, because it's this idea that you're separate from me, and you're not. We're all one. And so this is our country and our world, and we're going to have to all chip in to do something about it.
I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more. Let's talk a little bit about community and the importance of the support of community during this time, not only in the Big Talk Academy, but in the world.
Yes. Oh my gosh. So let's start with the Big Talk Academy first, because, I wouldn't be here without it. I think that the Big Talk Academy, I know that you're not having me here to say this, but I got to say that when someone cultivates a community with the intention of making it intentionally diverse and, expansive and all of those things, it's so felt by the people that are experiencing it. So in the Big Talk Academy, we have people from all over the world, different cultures, different walks, different faiths, different backgrounds, different bases. It's so beautiful. So that's first, because then you see yourself represented in your classmates and those type of things. But then also there's so much richness in that, because you get to have the different experiences and hear the different stories and what are they passionate about? A woman in Ireland versus a woman in I think it's Singapore, and with people from Scotland, and just hearing all these different experiences and also just like the idea that this community is so supportive, because it's like, hey, I'm going through this too with you, and I'm learning how to use my voice for what I'm passionate about. And it may not be the same thing, but everyone in there is such feeling of love and, tenderness and transparency and vulnerability. And the same with community in general, like feeling supported right now, so important for all of us, because we're going through as a nation, right, and a world of transformation and transition. And that's not just about the race stuff. It's about the pandemic and everything. Everyone's having these mutual experiences, but in different ways from different vantage points. And so I think community is so important. And I think one great thing that's come out of this is the global community. And that's represented in the microcosm in the Big Talk Academy, but then even so much expanded to the world. So
I think that the global community is also, for the first time, everyone in the world is having an experience with COVID.
Yes.
Absolutely. And now all of a sudden, everyone is having an experience with race being reflected back.
Yes.
Finally.
Yes.
And what I think is so important is, as speakers, as communicators, as facilitators, we need to choose our language. We need to understand the responsibility for
Yes.
which the platform deserves. Talk a little about your role as a speaker. And I know that you feel responsible. I know that about you, Bryn.
Yes, that's actually what my big talk is about, because I had to learn that. I have been powerful from the stage for as long as I can remember. My voice is powerful. I mean, people are always like, whoa, you're loud, right? And I think that the things that people sort of look at you as they admire, or they also kind of like, whoa, those are your gifts. And I had to recognize that and own that. And that's what my big talk is about, is this idea that I have a responsibility to use that gift and use it for good. And so then, with great power comes great responsibility. And that quote always meant to me, rich kids, that, to whom much is given, much is expected. And I was always like, oh, that's people with privilege, right? Or money, or what power, but I was like, oh no, it means that all the stuff that happened to you, all your experiences, everything that you bring, you're supposed to use that for something. And so, yes, I think speakers right now, people are using their platforms in good and dangerous ways. And I'm seeing both play out right now in this time. And I'm also seeing some people not using their platforms in ways that emit power, and it's sort of like, and it's been unnerving to me, because I'm like, you have all this power and you're not saying anything. That's frustrating. How can you not speak on something that's happening on such a global scale? And I'm talking about in either direction, COVID, racism, all of it. So I think we all have a responsibility. If you get a stage, you get a platform, that's a privilege. And it's elevated for a reason. And we're looking to you for guidance. We're looking to you for leadership. And if you're not using that, then frankly, I don't believe you deserve that platform. And that sounds harsh, but I think it's important that people use their platforms to push the movements forward, to push the things forward. And if they're not doing that because they're, afraid, I understand that. I can respect it. But there's a point where you have to stop being a bystander and you have to jump in and you have to say, hey, I've got some light, let me shine it. And so, I feel great responsibility for the stage. I feel great. I think it's elevated, and you have to elevate yourself to the level to own it.
Amazing. I think there's, in the Big Talk Academy, everyone has that responsibility. Everyone has that authentic desire to serve.
Yes.
That is a given. What would you say about people who may not know what to say, which is why they're silent? And how can we teach them? How can you facilitate an open dialogue?
Yeah, so we've had that a lot, actually. I think I reached out to some people because I'm in groups with lots of different people, different races, different backgrounds, and particularly people that were white felt like they couldn't say anything, right? And my biggest thing was, I would rather you say, and I'm telling you this, say you don't know what to say. That's a start. I don't know what to say. I'm scared. I'm feeling confused. I'm feeling emotional about what is happening, what I've seen. Say something, because that's where it starts. Learning how to use your voice is a skill. It's not just like, oh, we all have voices, we can use them. Of course, that sound like just like everything. We all can sing, but some of us are not very good at it. But with any kind of practice, and this, one can develop that skill. And so the thing is that you don't need permission to speak. You have to give yourself permission to speak. And so I facilitate that conversation of, say something. How are you feeling? What's going on inside of you? And I think what we did in our conversations was give prompts. What are you aware of right now? What are you experiencing inside your body, inside yourself? Start there. And I think what we miss if we don't really get this, is that the vulnerability, is what gives like the real connection, right? So if you could say that, I connect you so much better than, lecturing. This is bad. Racism is bad. Yes. But how do you feel? What are you experiencing? Because that is what gives someone an opportunity to connect. And so I think the big thing as a speaker or facilitator is to hold that space and say, hey, let's create a container where you feel safe to speak your truth. And this is not and also prevent personal attacks. So when I'm saying you, I'm not talking to you, Tricia. I'm just speaking in general. And we're all going to make an agreement that we're not going to take that personally, or at least as a personal attack. right? Like, I'm not attacking you. I may feel it personally and I can speak to that. Like, when people say that, not when you say that, this is what I hear. And you can say that too, but it's not about you and me fighting. It's about, I'm hearing this and I need to speak to that. And where do we go from there?
For everybody watching and listening, this is such an important moment because what you're seeing through Bryn is a masterful speaker, communicator, who is having a conversation with me from across a lens. So I share with you that your responsibility and your power from a stage, whether it's from a stage, whether it's from a podcast, a Facebook Live, or across the table from somebody, it is important that you're conscious of how you are communicating at all times. That is the responsibility that we all have.
Yes.
Bryn, talk a little bit about what you've learned about yourself through the process of the Big Talk. You've come into the academy with a lot of skill, a lot of experience already.
I think it's how to harness that power, like in a very strategic and tactical way, but also a powerful way. Like, in other words, tap into something deeper. I can always speak about something, but can I make people feel with what I'm saying? Or am I able to connect to the audience through my own experiences? And so I think what the Big Talk gave me is an ability to really, like, one, confront something that I was struggling with, right? And so go deep inside myself, and then also how to bring that out as a lesson for all, and not just tell people about it, but tell them my own like how to marry the two, but also do it in a way that's powerful and not necessarily just all over the place. Because of course we can all talk ad nauseum, most of us anyway, can talk ad nauseum about what we're passionate about, but to do it in a way that is poignant and pointed, that is, masterful. And so that's what the Big Talk has given me, that starting to really write that, and then how to like pare down to like the base of what I'm saying and really get into the heart of the message.
Let's talk a little bit, Bryn, about getting into the heart of the message, understanding the skills of public speaking, and how to marry those in terms of leveraging that for your business.
Yeah. So obviously we all want to be, when one wants to speak as part of their platform, it's really to grow their profile, to bring in more business, et cetera. So for me, I want to do speaking and coaching. I want to have this global impact and platform. And part of it is being able to get to that heart of that message allows me to really connect with my target audience, because the biggest thing is I may know a lot about my subject matter, but if I can't get into the heart of what they're experiencing and how my experience marries with their experience, because they get that I get them. So that has been how I've been using it in my business, to really realize that because before people would say, oh, can you teach people what you do on a stage? And I'm like, no, I can't duplicate this. I didn't plan it, right? But then it's like, oh, but what about the process before you get on the stage? Or what about the thing that when you're like late at night trying to write this or think about what you're going to say, or when you have that doubt? That's universal. And so those are the things. So that's helped me be able to better say, maybe I could teach speakers. Maybe I could mentor some people in that way, because now I get that this is what I'm struggling with. I've been struggling with for so long and since a child, because I made a story about why I can't do this in that way. And I'm sure there are several others that feel. So it's helped me be more empathetic to my audience and be able to connect even better, to be able to attract the type of people that I need to help, because they're waiting for me.
They are waiting for you, Bryn. Share a little bit with our audience. What surprised you most about being so intentional about writing a Big Talk?
How creative I am, but also, yes, I have so much more creativity. I mean, I've known I have a lot of ideas, but like when you said to come up with 100 ideas, I thought that was going to be impossible. And then it was like, and then to pare that down to 5, but just the process of like learning, like how important it is to like really decide what your intentions are, and, figure out like, okay, it's one thing to come up with a snappy title, because I'm very gifted at that, but what's the difference of like coming up with that snappy title and then connecting it with a meaning? And so I've learned a lot about myself in that I can come up with those things. And then I also have a richness. Like I can just start writing. Like I mean, as soon as I started wanting to write about my Big Talk, because, I'm a big procrastinator, I'll admit that. But I was like, wow, it's just flowing out of me because I found this through line and I found this idea that I'm passionate about, and I can write about it in a way that feels like it's pouring out of me easily. I can talk about it, and it's actually revealing a lot about me, like from my past, and how this is all contributing to my now. So that's been really beautiful.
That is so amazing. Let's go a little deeper there, Bryn, and talk a little bit about how this experience has changed you or given you gifts in terms of you going deep as a writer and as a speaker.
So when I was younger, I had an experience. I think I've had several experiences that kind of taught me, and I've alluded to a little bit about being biracial and things like that, that taught me that I couldn't use my voice in certain arenas or areas. And I think what has surprised me the most about this experience and what about myself is that I have to be doing this. Like, it's not just that, yes, I'm compelled to do it because I'm passionate about it, but I have to do this. Like, this is something that I was born to do. I was born to be on a stage because I don't feel, it was just that I had to give myself permission. That's surprising that even as someone who speaks quite frequently and is not shy about speaking, I realized I was holding myself back in so many ways. And this is giving me more permission through the discovery of my big talk and my through line that there's no reason to feel ashamed. And I think you said it once on one of our calls, but it's something about, because you're so powerful, that's why you're effective. And I don't think I think about it that way. I always think of my power as something I'm supposed to bring back because it's too much, because I was told that. And I think it's just surprising that I had to give myself permission all over again, that I need to be 100% unabashedly myself and bring all of myself to my talk to be able to create the change and the transformation that I want. And anything else, the story inside has to be eliminated, because, and it's part of it. I can bring that vulnerability, but it's also something that I can't let stand in my way.
And I hope everyone on this call is hearing exactly what Bryn is saying, because she is now owning this. And I encourage everyone who wants to take a stage or to speak or to share your very important message and story, because you will have impact. And I say this all the time. When you share your important message and your story with the world, you not only change lives, you actually save them.
Yeah.
And that is absolutely why these incredible speakers are taking stages. So I love everything that you're about, everything that you're doing. I want to thank you, Bryn, for being a featured guest today on The Big Talk. Where can our listeners get in touch with you?
So I am, you can get me on my website at bryndrescher.com. And then on every social media platform, I'm at Bryn Drescher. So if you put Bryn Drescher, after any, URL, you'll find me on those platforms: Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. I'm in those conversations. And I'm currently creating a course about really harnessing the power of your mind and overcoming your limiting beliefs, which I'm really excited about. So.
We will put all of that in the show notes so that you all can take advantage of this incredible opportunity. Thanks again for listening, everyone. I hope you enjoyed the Big Talk. Check out the next episode. Be sure to subscribe. And if you have any interest in going on the journey of the Big Talk Academy, you can get on the wait list at thebigtalkacademy.com. Remember, live your truth, be your authentic self, and drop in. I hope that you will start sharing your powerful story today, and be sure to subscribe and click on that notification bell so that you get access to my newest and latest videos. And I really appreciate that you are here and will always respond to the comments. Big love.